Anyone who looks up information about Julius Caesar will find something interesting along the way. He had a crazy reputation for sex. The Romans didn't have as many rules about sex as many countries do today. Some of Julius Caesar's sex life was seen as normal by them, but not all of it. Some of Caesar's supposed sexual preferences led to him being made fun of, and some of them may have even been linked to his death in the Senate. Although Caesar was not the most evil leader of Rome, his habits do seem to go against the idea of him today as a brave, calm, and important leader. But there's a hint of sexiness in even the stories that are mostly believed to be based on fact, like the one about Julius Caesar and Cleopatra's relationship. Everyone in Rome knew that sex was important, and Caesar, who was a leader of the city, felt the same way. Caesar was something of a womanizer. It was said that Caesar had a legendary reputation with ladies. Not only did he have relationships with women who were concubines, foreign leaders, and ladies of the evening, but he also had relationships with women who he really married. Throughout the course of his life, he wed 3 different women, beginning with Cornelia, who passed away 7 years after giving birth to Caesar's only legitimate child, Julia. He would go on to marry 3 other women. Following the passing of Cornelia, he wed Pompeia, whom he later divorced in a scandalous situation after she was discovered to be in the company of a man who was dressed as a woman during the Bona Dea festival. Calpurnia came in 3rd place. She had a nightmare about Caesar's death on the day that he was targeted in the Senate. Despite the fact that Caesar did sire a kid with Cleopatra during his marriage to Calpurnia, they did not have any children of their own. He had an affair and a child with Cleopatra. In the realm of legend, the affair that Julius Caesar had with Cleopatra is simply legendary. According to mythology, Cleopatra had herself rolled up in a carpet, rug, or bag of linens to be sent to Caesar directly at the period of their dalliance. This was despite the fact that the leadership of Rome and Egypt were engaged in a dispute at the time. Not long after that, they fell in love with one another, a connection that enraged Ptolemy III, who was the monarch of Egypt at the time. As the conflict persisted, both Caesar and Cleopatra's lives were put in jeopardy. In addition, Cleopatra fell pregnant with Caesar's child during this complicated period of time. According to reports, Cleopatra hired 2 actors disguised as Castor and Pollux to light Caesar's burial pyre in order to reinforce confidence in his divinity. The couple remained together until Caesar's death. Caesar's infidelity was in line with his time. Despite the fact that some of Caesar's affairs caused public outrage, it was not because he was engaging in affairs with other women. Women in ancient Rome were encouraged to look the other way when it came to adultery, as long as it satisfied certain criteria of decency. Marriages in ancient Rome were not established with the intention of bringing love or happiness to the couple. In the past, it was customary for men to engage in sexual relations with only unmarried women, sex workers, and men or boys who were older than a particular age. As a result of the fact that Caesar's high-profile romance with Cleopatra involved a foreigner in addition to a lady who was not married, it was not as shocking as it may have been. The people of Rome, on the other hand, had a profound mistrust of her, which led some of them to take issue with the manner in which Caesar's desire for sexual relationships was causing harm to the nation. Ancient Romans had issues with Caesar's effeminateness. Caesar was perceived by many as being more womanly than other men of the day, and this perception was not only based on his personal tastes. In addition to engaging in cross-dressing, Caesar possessed a number of mannerisms that distinguished him from other people in a culture that placed a high priority on hypermasculinity. Cicero once commented on Caesar's character, "I never would have thought that a man who scratches his head with one finger and has such exquisitely arranged hair could have ever overthrown the Roman state." Despite the fact that other political personalities made fun of him for his behavior or temperament, he did not respond in the manner that was anticipated. Instead of responding by retaliating by doubling down on the insult, as was customary, he responded by stating that throughout history, there have been a great number of queens who have held strong positions. During Caesar's time, he was distinguished not only by the fact that many of his mannerisms appeared to be inappropriate for the era, but also by the fact that he did not make any effort to modify them in order to make them more socially acceptable. Some believed that Caesar slept his way into power. As reports circulated about Caesar's lack of initiative and his tastes occasionally deviating from the conventions that are generally accepted, some of Caesar's adversaries started using such allegations against him. Not only were people saying that Caesar was a docile and weak-willed individual, but they also said that he obtained his authority through practices that were not considered to be respectable, such as sleeping with other people. It was easy for people to assert that Caesar accomplished something else as a result of his time spent with King Nicomedes. This was due to the fact that one of his most well-known partnerships had taken place with Nicomedes. In ancient Rome, however, this was not necessarily a negative thing to happen. In addition to the fact that the two cultures were distinct from one another, Greece also held the belief that relationships should have diverse power dynamics, with one party learning from the other through sexual activity as well as through education. His alleged role in male-male relationships prompted slander. The reported relationship between Caesar and King Nicomedes of Bithynia was not a cause for suspicion just because it involved two men. Rather, it was a cause for suspicion because of the role that Caesar was said to play in the relationship. It was a patriarchal society in Rome, which meant that men were regarded as being socially superior than women. As a result, characteristics that are often associated with women were regarded as being less significant. Because of this, being penetrated meant that one was relegated to a more feminine role. According to the rumor, Caesar was the one who was penetrated in his connection with Nicomedes, and as a result, he became the target of derision because of this. Suetonius, a Roman gossip writer, reported that the Gauls were claimed to have sung, "Caesar may have conquered the Gauls, but Nicomedes conquered Caesar," which was a reference to Caesar's passive sexual role. The purpose of such an insult was to portray Caesar as less manly and consequently less confident and powerful, which are two essential qualities in a leader. This was done regardless of whether or not the connection in question actually took place. Caesar once had to read a love note in front of the Senate. Almost none of Caesar's business was kept a secret. Caesar was in the middle of a Senate meeting when he received a letter that was titled "Urgent." He made an effort to read it in a way that would not draw attention to himself, but Cato insisted that he read it out loud. Cato was under the impression that Caesar was involved in some kind of plot, despite the fact that Caesar claimed that the letter was from a mistress. Caesar turned out to be telling the truth when he said that the note was not just a love note, but it was also a love note from Servilia, who is Cato's half-sister. Caesar read the note in front of the Senate, revealing his relationship with Servilia to everyone who was present. Julius Caesar had a reputation as being willing to sleep with anyone. It was stated that Julius Caesar had an insatiable capacity for eating. It was believed that he did not exercise a great deal of discretion when it came to choosing a partner, which is the reason why there were stories regarding him and King Nicomedes, in addition to the numerous ladies that he was said to be connected with. According to Suetonius, Curio referred to Caesar as every woman's man and every man's woman. Despite the fact that adultery was not frowned upon, the fact that Caesar participated in relationships with men in his fashion was taken as an insult. This was the intention behind the statement. Caesar was known for cross-dressing. Among the rumors that circulated about Caesar's oddities was the notion that he engaged in cross-dressing, particularly during his time spent in Nicomedes' court. There were reports that his interests were unusual, despite the fact that he was not the first Roman politician to do so by a significant margin. His other actions while he was there led to these rumors. To be more explicit, the rumors said that he took pleasure in being penetrated, which was an act that was considered inappropriate for a man to engage in social settings. These tales were reported by Suetonius, a historical historian and legendary gossip hound who recorded the lives of numerous Roman individuals in great detail. Suetonius was responsible for recounting many of these rumors. There is a great amount of corroboration in other Roman works from the period, lending some validity to items like Caesar's reported cross-dressing. This is despite the fact that a significant portion of his writing has been argued to be propaganda that was spread by a political adversary of the dictatorship. He spent an enormous amount of money on women in Gaul. Suetonius asserts that Caesar has an extraordinary hunger for intimate relationships. There were rumors that he had sexual encounters with a number of queens, as well as a variety of noble women and sex workers. He was seen with people of high social status, as well as people of low social standing, and he was willing to spend a significant amount of money on them. His preferences were not discriminatory. He purchased Servilia, a pearl that was worth 6 million sesterces, which is more than the value of a villa in Naples that is located on the coast. Additionally, according to Suetonius, he had sexual encounters with married women and ladies of the evening, which he paid for with Roman money. This was not the end of his sexual exploits. Mark Antony accused Caesar's adopted son of trading love for Caesar's favor. The adoption of Caesar's great-nephew Octavian was a testament to Caesar's will. As the person who had assumed responsibility for Caesar's fortune following his death, Mark Antony was incensed because he had been under the impression that Caesar had bequeathed his wealth and properties to him rather than to Octavian. Octavian must have exchanged romantic favors with Caesar in exchange for his adoption, Antony maintained, because he was so enraged by the situation. Ever if the rumored relationship between Antony and Caesar was probably not genuine, the fact that Antony ever attempted to have a relationship with Caesar lends credence to Caesar's reputation as a man who had appetites that exceeded what was considered acceptable at the time. Octavian, like his adopted father, was also prone to gossip. We hope you liked this video, subscribe to the channel if you're a history addict, and please let us know about what civilization or time period we should talk about. Also, watch another video here.